Happy Wednesday, veterans, and welcome to our Facebook Live. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. Before we jump into our topic, if you can please sound off in the comments. Where are you tuning in from? Share what branch and years of service you served. Let us know a little bit more about you.
All right. How's it going today, Naomi?
Pretty good. How are you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. Happy to be here, serving veterans, spreading education, helping everyone along their journey, making another day.
Yeah, I hear that. I see some comments coming in. So, welcome, Brian. I see Missoula, 1994. Welcome. And for those that have just logged in, please go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from, what branch and years you served. In the meantime, Donnie, why don't we go ahead and introduce ourselves, right?
Yeah,
Can you tell folks a little bit more about yourself and your journey to VACI?
absolutely, absolutely. So I'm a United States Army combat veteran, and I got out of service and tried to obtain my benefits for a long time, and uh, then I became, I started working in veteran services. I was a certifying official for the VA, so I got versed in reading 38 CFR and stuff like that. Got my education, and still had a hard time navigating the disability system. It was still very elusive, difficult to navigate, and just kept getting rejected. And so I came to VACI as a customer, as a client, to help get my benefits. And I'm now 100% permanent in total. And I told my coach, I said, "Hey, I wanna do what you do." And eventually, I became a coach, and then a senior veteran coach, and now a veteran coach manager. Um, and I'm happy to help veterans or educate veterans in our process, so that they can reduce their frustration and hopefully their time and get the rating they deserve. It's not a system that's designed to be simple or easy to navigate. So everything we can do to make that process more simple for any other veteran is a pleasure.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. A little bit more about myself. I think I have a coming up to my year two here at VACI, and I love it. I am one of the few folks here in the company that doesn't come from a veteran background. I come from a social work background, so I have a master's in clinical social work. So before this, I was doing one-on-one therapy, trauma focused. Decided, hey, I really want to continue working with vulnerable populations and helping folks, but not necessarily in the clinical sense. So this opportunity at VACI came through. And I love it, right? I definitely love seeing the real lifestyle or impact, right? Getting that rating that deserve and how it really changes lives, right? And how important this work we do. And like you said, right, a lot of vets are underrated, right, under deserved or not given that value or that rating that they deserve, and they don't understand which way to go, or they've been denied in the past, and that process can be complicated. And I just love how we break things down and how we have that one-on-one coaching and support throughout this process with our vets. So thank you so much for all of you guys that are, have taken interest into the program, have taken time today to log into this Facebook Live. Today we have a really good topic, so definitely excited to get this going. How about you, Donnie?
100%, 100%. Hopefully, we have a great turnout. Um, this is a great topic too because myths and, and other misinformation. We're in the service. We call them barracks lawyers. All that bad information prevents you from getting what you deserve. And that's not just with disability claims. That's in life in general. Bad information prevents you from reaching a destination or your focus, your goals. Uh, while that's being said, let's go ahead and knock out this disclaimer real quick. I'll do that if you don't
Yeah,
mind, Naomi.
go ahead.
So, our disclaimer: we are not accredited agents, VSOs, attorneys, or any other entity recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs, and we are not affiliated with the VA in any way. VA Claims Insider is an education based coaching consulting company for disabled veterans exploring eligibility for increased VA disability benefits and who wish to learn more about that process. VA Claims Insider also connects veterans with vetted independent medical professionals in our preferred provider network for medical examinations and independent medical opinions for a wide range of disability conditions.
Awesome. Now let's talk a little bit more about our elite program and what makes us special, right? Something that we talk about is our SEM method. And what does that mean? So that stands for strategy, education, and medical evidence. This is what makes us different, right? Once you sign up with us in the elite program, you'll get set up with a coaching team. That will include, of course, your veteran coach, someone like myself, and your coach's administrative assistant. During that one-on-one coaching, you'll have that initial strategy session where your coach will be able to see kind of your journey up to this point, right? What are you currently service connected for? What's in your record? What do you wish to file for? Let's have a conversation, right? And really there is where you and your coach will have a one-on-one and build a game plan moving forward of which claims you want to tackle, whether that be for direct service connection or secondary, and what needs to be done in terms to make that happen, right? We'll educate you on that process as to what that claim entails and what it looks like, but also stress the importance of medical evidence. We always talk about how medical evidence wins claims. So we'll talk about that as well moving forward, right? In your strategy session, what are those steps that you're going to need? What's that evidence that's missing for your claim? Of course, we will support and educate you throughout this process through the claim submission. And also, once you get that CNP notice, right, we'll have a one-on-one with you, refer you to our live educational courses to, help you feel 100% going into that CNP exam. But also, right, post CNP exam steps, right? So you get that decision back. What do I do now, right? Is it favorable? Is it not? And if so, what are my options? Your coach is there to break that down with you and talk about the different options and educate you on what those next steps may look like. I mentioned our live classes via Zoom. We have those going on 3 times each day throughout the week. Every morning, we have a cool class or a check-in, I like to say, called Coffee with the Coaches. It's a free space to build community, to get to know more about us, like coaches, about the company, to learn more about your veteran community, right? To know about, hey, I'm going through this claim right now. I just so found out that this other veteran in this meeting as well is going through the same process, right? Hearing their experience, what went right, what went wrong, having that community to speak openly about, your process throughout this. Like I mentioned, we also have educational classes, whether that's a mental health claim that you're working on, or let's say you have a physical CNP exam coming up. We have those educational classes as well. If you are interested and want to learn more, feel free to schedule a discovery call and talk to one of our team members by going to vaclaims.help for free. And you'll see that banner down here to schedule your free discovery call. They're a good resource to ask questions to see whether or not if this elite program is a good fit. Awesome. So now I think it's time for us to talk about the topic, Donnie. Ready to start?
Absolutely, absolutely. Real fast, so you discussed those live classes, and something that isn't explicitly outlined, but you find out once you're part of the program is part of that is community, right? We develop community of veterans and those that are wanting to help veterans, provide education, assistance in whatever form they can. And what tends to happen is you attend these classes all the time and you meet other veterans and you start to you know them by name, you know about their life going on. You celebrate successes together, you mourn the losses together, and we provide each other with motivation and encouragement to continue along your process and keep pursuing the rating that you deserve morally, ethically, and legally. But you weren't alone in service. You're not alone out here, and that's something that we have, and it's part of our elite program. Um, you don't you don't see it on paper, but you feel it in your heart once you're in there.
Yeah, definitely. And as a coach, right, hearing those wins, it's a motivator to keep going, right? And yeah, like you said, community is a big aspect. You weren't alone in service, definitely aren't alone throughout this process. And coffee with the coaches is definitely that, right? That community check in. Hey, how's it going? How's that CMP exam go? Have you heard back from the VA, right? That community check in. So definitely is a good thing to take advantage should you join the elite program. But moving on to today's topic, right? We're going to debunk the top VA disability myths, right? There's a lot of myths going on out there about the VA. And, you know, it has been perpetrated across the veteran community for many years. We want to set the record straight. So let's start with the first wide VA claim myth, which is, hey, VA disability is only for those veterans who are more disabled than me. Other veterans deserve benefits, but not me. I don't deserve benefits. This is an absolute lie. We tell ourselves as veterans, you serve, right? You deserve. Almost all veterans are eligible for VA disability benefits, except for those with a dishonorable discharge, which has not been upgraded yet. I give you here at VACI, we give you the permission, right, to get what you deserve. You can be rated from anywhere from 0 to 100% in increments of 10%, depending on your disabilities, whether or not they're service connected, as well as the frequency, severity, and duration of your symptoms to include work and life impairment. So I hear you're saying, right? We may know a fellow that's much more in our eyes, right, disabled, but that doesn't take away from your own condition. So definitely don't cut yourself from the opportunity to receive a rating that you deserve by law. Okay.
Yeah, and you know,
Awesome.
the second myth kind of piggybacks on that. If I get VA disability benefits, it will take away from another veteran's benefits, which is just absolutely not true. So you know, um, I was medevac from Iraq in '04 and spent some time in Walter Reed Hospital, and my buddy, my my roommate in the hospital, um, had lost both of his legs in an IED strike, and so I crawl out of bed every day with this guilt, like, you know, why am I even in the hospital? I can walk. And I would have to watch him like roll and try to scoot and then shimmy into his wheelchair every morning. And I had all this guilt. So for years, you know, I thought I didn't deserve those benefits because guys like him deserve those benefits, right? I could get up. I could stand on my own 2 feet. I didn't need a wheelchair. Why do I deserve benefits? And so no, um, I was broken in other ways, had other injuries, and absolutely deserved those benefits. Um, and I still know that guy to this day. We still keep in contact. And receiving my benefits did not take away his benefits. Also, 100% is is not the same level of benefits that people in that condition receive. So there's something called special monthly compensation, and it's when you get paid a stipend in addition to your 100% stipend, or you get paid a replacement stipend that is in excess of the normal 100% amount. People that have loss of limb, paralysis, uh, need care and assistance, aid and attendance, things like that, they typically receive special monthly compensation and are paid above and beyond what 100% pays. So not only do we not take away their benefits, but even in that context, not everyone is compensated the same, right? So if someone is quote unquote more disabled, they are compensated according to the severity of their injuries, above and beyond 100%.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that example of your buddy for sure. You know, going on to myth three, right? Kind of leading up to that is I've been out of the service for too long to apply for VA disability benefits. The reality is that there isn't any statute of limitations as to when you have to file your VA disability benefits. So even if it's been 10, 20, 30, whatever, how many years, you can always file, right, for VA disability benefits at any time. go ahead and sign up for a discovery call. Let's, get that ball rolling. Let's talk about, what can we do in terms of those future claims moving forward. But the statute of limitations, it does not apply here, right? You can file at any time.
Absolutely. I've had clients that got out in the 60s with no rating, and they've gotten service connection. Um, Another myth is I don't have my conditions diagnosed in my military records, so I'll just get denied. That's not necessarily true either, right? The You have to have an in-service event, right? So, as Naomi covered earlier, we use strategy, education, and medical evidence. And so during that strategy, you determine um, what the best possible routes are. Um, and one of the things you look at to establish service connection is, do you have the three elements necessary in the Kaluza triangle? Do you have an in-service event, which doesn't necessarily have to be a diagnosis? So, perhaps, you have mental health issue. Well, maybe there was an event in service that it's reasonable that event did cause mental health. And mental health is not limited to just PTSD, right? There's a whole bunch of different diagnoses that someone can receive. But doesn't necessarily have to be PTSD, which is, you need to have an event where you fear for the life of yourself or others. So after you establish the in-service event, you need a current diagnosis. A doctor has to diagnose a problem with you now, right? Recently, not 30 years ago. So that means, yes, you need to go to the doctor. You need to get treatment. You need to seek help. And then to tie those together, you need something called a nexus, and that's just a fancy word the VA uses to tie your in-service event to your current diagnosis. And this is all developed in our elite service program. If you're interested in getting with a coach, hit up one of those links down there. If you want a discovery call to get more information about our program, hit up that discovery link down there, set up a call, find out about our program in more detail. But that elite service you get from having a coach helps you navigate the system a little bit better. It provides you the education you need to be able to identify the best way to obtain the rating you deserve.
Yeah, the best way, to get that rating you deserve, whether that be direct or secondary connections, that initial strategy session will result in a roadmap, right, as to how you'll get to those claims service connected. So definitely, if you're unsure or unclear whether or not, a claim is a potential claim you can file for, start by having that discovery call. Start talking about, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I have in my service records. Can I potentially do this, right? And we could take it from there and see, hey, is there a claim we can work here with? But moving on to myth number 5, right? The VA already gave me a disability rating, so I can't apply again. It's a really big misconception. The VA process is never over unless you yourself quit, right? I will say this one more time. The VA disability process does not end unless you yourself give up or quit. You can apply as many times as you like. Many conditions, maybe your condition has worsened over time, right? Maybe you want to file for an increase. And if so, you can definitely file for an increase showing that your condition has progressed. Perhaps you realize you may be eligible for a secondary condition. Maybe you want to file a secondary claim to your already service-connected condition. Do it, right? You definitely can. Just make sure you have the medical evidence to back up your assertions, right? Definitely, if you're currently service-connected, let's say for tinnitus, and you're considering secondaries, you're not quite sure what that may look like. That could be something that, you can talk about with the coach during a strategy session. Or what does that look like? What are those secondaries that we can potentially consider moving forward? Getting to that 100%, that journey is never going to come to a halt or an end unless you yourself decide that that's it, right? And here at VACI, we're here to support you throughout this journey. So definitely, if you're interested, look into that discovery call for sure.
Another common myth is that my VSO said I should be happy with my VA disability rating percentage and not rock the boat. The only time you should be happy with your VA disability rating percentage is if you believe you're getting everything you legally, morally, ethically, and medically are eligible for. If you think you deserve an increase, then you should pursue that. My my VSO said I should be happy with my 70%. Didn't say that I don't deserve more, or didn't say that I don't legally qualify for more. He said I should be happy with my 70%, and I wasn't, because I knew that I had a lot more problems that, well, when I knew I had problems that were underrated, and I knew I had more problems that should be service connected, that were the result of my time in service, that were not service connected. So no, I wasn't happy, um, because I knew I deserved more, and I pursued those claims and the help of the elite service at VACI until I received those claims. Um, unless someone can articulate why you legally, morally, or ethically do not, or medically don't deserve a higher rating, then you shouldn't listen to them. Um, that being said, there are instances in which people don't have the necessary conditions to be rated higher, and that's fine. But receive that information, that education, from an educated and knowledgeable person. Don't just take somebody's word for it who isn't giving you a reason. Like my VSO, you should be happy, right? That's not a reason. You should be happy? No, no. Why? Why do I not deserve more? So absolutely. And a coach is a great way to receive that education. And coaches will tell you if you are at a spot in which you can no longer get an increase, right? Because that's the right thing to do for everybody. You don't want to waste your time thinking you deserve more when you don't. But if you do, you'll absolutely receive that education in our elite program to obtain the rating you morally, ethically, and legally deserve.
Yeah, and moving on to the next myth, right? I already got denied before, so there's nothing else I can do about it. If I apply again, the VA will just deny me. I can't tell you how many times as a coach I hear this. Oh, I was denied, so they're gonna flat out deny me again. Absolutely false. Absolutely false. Previous denials don't necessarily impact future claims. There are plenty of options that the VA has previously denied your claim. Typically, when you get a decision, you have two different types of appeals. The first is known as a higher level review, or HLR. The other, a supplemental claim. Let's say if your claim does get denied, you can file one of those two appeals. Let's say if that gets denied, then you do have the option to escalate it, right, to the Board of Appeals, or request with a video teleconference with a BVA judge. There's always another path, right? But you must stay in it and never quit it. Let's say you do decide to go with the elite program, something that's going to be very important in that discussion, right? Whether or not you can appeal a past decision, is to make that decision letter available to your coach, right? Your guys will be able to review the letter and see, hey, one, what was that evidence that was used as part of that initial decision? What was that rationale or reasoning, right, that the VA denied the claim? And is there a window or an opportunity here where we could potentially appeal, right? And if so, what does that look like? You'll have that conversation with your coach, and a strategy will be made. But, going back to those appeal options, you always have a way to appeal, or to, in a way, fight back, right, from a decision from the VA, whether that's be a higher level review, a supplemental, or even escalating it, right, to a BVA judge. So just want to keep that in mind. The fight never ends. As long as you keep going, then you can continue pushing forward.
Yeah. Another myth is that if you apply for an increase or a new condition, that you're going to lose the rating that you already have, or that rating will be reduced. That is extremely unlikely, um, especially if you're part of our elite program, because you're going to receive the education necessary to file a claim with the appropriate um, medical evidence or other evidence necessary to substantiate service connection and your current symptomology. Uh, have people been reduced in the past? Absolutely. Usually because either the VA had a uh, routine evaluation scheduled, and the veteran had stopped seeking care, and they get sucked in to an exam, and they use the basis that they no longer pursue care, that they're maybe their conditions have improved, or they go back in and just file claims without the necessary education to file a claim that will result in an increase or a new service connection. And that working the process blindly is typically when you end up with a reduction. But if you have the education and that you would receive from our elite service program, especially when you have a coach assisting you along that process, your education process, you're not going to be flying blindly anymore, right? So if you're interested in a coach, feel free to click on one of those links. Again, you just want to find out more about that process, click on one of those discovery links and get set up with a phone call to find out more about our program.
Yeah. Another big myth that, it's spread around is also that the VA has it out for veterans, right? Or that they intentionally deny disability claims. That's absolutely false. The VA does not intentionally deny claims. They're following law and regulation when reviewing your VA disability claim, right? So they're following that CFR. They have a list of regulations and laws that they have to look at in terms of that rating criteria. Help them, right? Help them by submitting a strong, fully developed claim with that appropriate medical evidence, right? Connect the dots for them, make it unexpected, make it clear that this is a fully developed claim that has the evidence that proves that connection back to service. And most likely than not, right, that claim will come out favorable. But that misconception at the VA just is flat out denying claims just because it's not true, right? They are required to make that decision based off the CFR.
I'm gonna hit a couple of these comments in the chat real quick before we move along.
Yeah.
So this is gonna address Daniel's question: how to get the VA to approve PTSD AWOL over 181 days. So the process for getting PTSD approved is almost the same for everybody, right? You have to have a qualifying period of service, so that has to do with your discharge status. And active duty and such. And then also you have to have a qualifying event in service. So, one in which you feared for your life itself or others. And then you have to establish a current diagnosis and then a nexus. These things are all outlined in the education you receive in our elite process in your strategy session when you're developing this stuff to see where you stand, what's missing. For B King, I have 2 service-connected disabilities that are rated 0%. I was under the understanding that they'll be changing that to a minimum of 10%. I would need more information. They are not going to just change it 0 to 10, if that's what you're asking, unless there's a change in the rating of your conditions that would change them legally from 0 to 10%. That's not going to happen. If you have a number of zeros, I want to say it's if you have 7 0%, but don't quote me on that. In no other compensatory rating, they will combine those for a single rating of 10%, if that's what you're referring to. But as soon as you get a compensable rating, you lose that free 10%. Yeah, Jim, Army 7174 and working the appeals process. Yeah, it's a long, drawn out process sometimes, especially when you're going down that appeals chain. That's why our elite program helps provide the education necessary to get the rating you deserve without going down the lengthy board of appeals process, which can take years and years. Is it true that after 5 years you cannot lose what you have now? They can't take it away. No, Jerry, that is not true. Really, after 10 years, you can't lose your service connection. After 20, your rating is protected. However, they can always take away your rating or your service connection if they identify a Q, which is a clear and unmistakable error, or they discover that your rating was obtained fraudulently. Under those two conditions, you are never protected. SMCK and SMCL or I, can you put in for SMCR? So the SMCKs in that scenario are not interrelated. SMCK is most commonly associated with FSAD or erectile dysfunction, which we have a class coming up in a few weeks on that, where it's loss of a creative organ. And then the other two are entirely different SMCs. They don't all intertwine. So SMCR and SMCT, there's a correlation between, but the other SMCs are not necessarily a correlation between. And then I'll do one more. VA keeps combining my TBI and PTSD. That's because of a law called pyramiding. Right? So anytime you have your symptoms are rated, you cannot be compensated twice for the same symptoms. So if you have a TBI and PTSD, even if you get a separate rating for TBI, you will see TBI and PTSD in the title of that PTSD rating, because some of those symptoms are going to combine with TBI. Now, if you have symptoms that are outside of that rating system, you might see a separate rating. For instance, migraines. You might see migraines separate because it can be rated higher separately by itself, and or other conditions or residuals of TBI, secondary conditions. And now I jump back to the myth. My disabilities aren't severe enough to get a VA rating. Even if your symptoms aren't severe enough to get a rating, you can still be service connected. Get that established, right? You might get a 0%. So it's not a compensatory rating, but it is establishing service connection. And then if you establish service connection, you might have secondary conditions related to that condition that's 0%. And maybe those secondary conditions do have the potential of being compensable ratings, meaning 10% or greater. So you'll be compensated for those. That's a great question, a great scenario to take to a coach, right? Sign up for our elite process, get a coach, and get that education necessary to get the rating you deserve.
Yeah, and moving on to the next myth is if I get seen for mental health or have a VA rating for PTSD, the VA will take away my guns. Your VA rating for mental health to include PTSD has nothing to do with your guns or your right to bear guns, right? By law, the VA can't take away your guns. It would be unlawful seizure without a warrant. However, the VA does not have the authority to take away your guns or impose on any other limitation based on ratings. VA ratings can potentially impact other aspects of veterans' life. Let's say, for example, if you have a certain security clearance, I encourage you to consider your own individual circumstances. I'll use the example of folks that, let's say, are pilots or work in that sphere, right? There's specific regulations for mental health ratings for folks there, but in general, right, as long as you're not a threat to yourself or to others, you will be able to have your right to bear arms. I always tell my folks, think about HIPAA, right? So when you think of mental health, you think about your mental health be protected by that HIPAA law. And as long as you're not, publicly disclosing that, no one's going to find out, right, about that PTSD diagnosis or depression, whatever that mental health rating may be. So that all will be protected, right? It's not going to interfere with your right to bear arms. Like I said, only in those special circumstances, right? If you're potentially in danger to yourself or to others, that could be in question. But in general, that is something that will not be affected. I will go ahead and say that there are vets that work for VACI that are 100% for PTSD and also have the right to bear arms, and that has never been taken away. So here to affirm and to kind of debunk that big misconception when it comes to PTSD and the right to bear arms.
Absolutely. And related to that, Naomi, you touched on it there a little bit, your security clearance. Having a condition mental health condition doesn't necessarily impact your ability to obtain, maintain your security clearance. You will need to notify them to update your SF-86. However, not disclosing a mental health condition could impact your ability to obtain or maintain a security clearance because it'd be seen as an integrity violation. You're not being honest. And that would absolutely impact your ability to obtain and maintain a security clearance. Terry said, "Why should I file if I'm 100% PNT?" Um, I don't recall saying you should, um, and in most instances, you should not. There are exceptions to that, but typically, you don't want to because you want to keep your protection and stay out of the VA's microscope, in my opinion.
Just as a follow up on that, I see that Jeffrey asked PACT Act. If you're 100% PNT, can you apply for the PACT Act? If so, can you receive any additional money on top of your 100%? So the straight answer is no. Once you're at that 100%, right, you're at the full monthly compensation for that rated, right, disabilities. So filing for PACT Act claims is not going to change your overall raw score, right, with that 100%. The only thing that would lead to, let's say, more money up top would be like what Donnie said, if you file for that special monthly compensation. And that's not going to affect, right, your overall rating. That is just additional pay from that 100%.
Also, you cannot apply for the PACT Act. The PACT Act is the name of a bill that was passed. It's not something you apply for. As in most scenarios with presumptive conditions, you have to apply for a specific condition. So a condition that was addressed or made presumptive under the PACT Act, you can apply for, but you cannot apply for the PACT Act itself. I was medically board retired in 1990 from foot drop, lost use of limb, but my I'm assuming he means SMC K didn't start until 2018 when I got a secondary claim for radiculopathy in both legs. Does this sound right? Should it have started in 1990 when loss of use of limb was first rated? It's hard to say based off of the information provided. What is a better question is, can you do anything about it at this point? And that is very likely to be no. It kind of is what it is at this point. So USMC Farrell says, I got turned down years ago for bilateral hearing loss, but now I got diagnosed with hearing loss in both ears. Could I submit again with a new diagnosis? So hearing loss in total is what you apply for. The rating system for hearing loss addresses both ears already. So bilateral is already being done. So that word is not necessary. It's just hearing loss. And to address your question more specifically, could I submit again with a new diagnosis? You could. What is more important is why were you denied? So you need to address and look at your reasons for denial, and then determine if it is the diagnosis that you lacked or there was something else lacking from your three elements of service connection. Remember those: your in-service event, your current diagnosis, and your nexus. That's a great question to bring up in your with a coach once you sign up for elite service. Coaches will educate you on how to navigate those denial letters, and they will educate you on how to navigate the appeals process. So I would highly recommend taking that question to a coach and determining the best path for you. Oh, and it appears that USMC Farrell is working with our great Coach Mary. So absolutely take that to Coach Mary, and she will educate you on the best way to navigate that process.
Awesome. I did see a
Okay.
question I wanted to address in the chat from Keith Long. How are your fees calculated? That's a good question, right? So maybe you're interested in the program, not quite sure how our fees work. The way that we work is that so we won't charge for any education support, right? Before or after submitting your claim, you only will receive an invoice from us if you get a win. So how is that calculated? Let's say if we see a change in your monthly compensation. So I always like to say the example of $500. So say you come to BACI with a monthly compensation of $500. And we're able to get that increase, let's say, to 1,000. We'll take the difference of those two numbers, which would be the 500, multiply that by 6, so 6 times, right? And that would be your total invoice. Typically, you'll have two different options to take care of that. So let's say if you wanted to do 12-month interest-free payments, we will break that down. So if we do that, going back to that 500 example, that would come down to a monthly payment of $250. Also, if you wanted to do, let's say, a lump sum, we would extend a 10% discount. So that would bring your overall invoice down, using that, again, $500 example, to $2,700. So it's the difference of the monthly compensation times 6, and you're given two options, either 12-month interest-free payments or a lump sum payment with a 10% discount. I hope that answered your question.
So Brant Harmonet says, my son is starting college, and can he get any funding help? Also, he turned 18 and was removed from my benefits 100%. How do I add him back? How do I add him back on since he'll be living at home? So if you are 100% and your dependent is between 17 and 26 years old, they qualify for Chapter 35. They'll need to apply for that education benefit through the VA claims portal, education portal, just like a veteran would apply for their Chapter 30 or 33 MGIB bill process. That being said, if they're going to collect Chapter 35, then you are not also going to be compensated for that dependent. They will, however, be able to keep their health care during that time. Also, dependent upon your state, a lot of states have funding for the dependents of 100% disabled veterans. So I would absolutely look into what your state has. Most colleges and universities have a person called a school certifying official who also is typically some sort of expert in the other benefits for veterans in their state, city, county, etc. And it would be wise to link up with that person and pick their brain, see what all your dependent may qualify for, to make that process a little fiscally easier. My claim is a duty to assist error. Greg and Darlene Boyd. Does it really take that error for almost a year now? Does it really take that long to correct their error, or am I just stuck in VA limbo? So, um, the answer to that, Greg, is maybe. Right? It's possible. So, duty to assist can be any number of things. It could mean that uh, they did not afford you a C&P exam when they should have afforded you a C&P exam, so they might need to send you to another examiner. However, it might mean also they did not do a thorough record search for the necessary records for you to obtain either the rating you deserve or service connection. Now, there is an obligation for the VA to search until it is deemed that uh, any further search efforts would be futile. And those searches can take up to a year sometimes, depending on which systems they're navigating looking for those records. So it is absolutely possible for it to take a year. Frustrating, and it's rare. Not often does it take a year, but now I don't know about. I wouldn't say rare, but it's not commonly taking that long. Those are fewer and farther between. But hang in there, stay in the fight.
I see a question from Brian Burns. If I'm 100% disabled, can my spouse get medical benefits? It is my understanding that yes, either your spouse or dependents can qualify for free VA healthcare under that CHAMP VA. That is something that would be granted, right, once you're permanent and total. But yes, you can.
Yeah. A spouse, oftentimes, and this depends on your VA, can go to the VA and get treatment. I know at the VA in Kansas City that's possible. And then what's great is they can also get those prescriptions mailed straight to them and stuff like that, like veterans do. And that's a huge relief. Uh, so I've heard that if you make too much money when working or have too much money when retired, you're not eligible for benefits. What about that? That's false. Um, I had a I had a client who was a billionaire and he got to 100%. So if you reach 100% based on TDIU, which means total disability due to individual unemployability, then you have income restrictions. Uh, if you reach that rating in a scheduler capacity, meaning you're rated 100% based solely on your conditions alone, then typically you are allowed to stay gainfully employed.
Military Mike, can I file a new claim, a supplemental claim, and an increase at one time? The straight answer is yes. I would definitely recommend if you do come on board with the elite process that you have a one-on-one with your coach beforehand to build a strategy as to how to follow that. But yes, it does not. A new claim and an increase will potentially go on the same track. A supplemental, because it's a type of appeal, may or may not, but it's definitely doable. Yes.
I am rated 70%. My father-in-law lives with us and has for years. Can he be claimed as a dependent since he has no ability to provide for himself? Possibly. If he is your dependent, then it is possible that he can be claimed as dependent and increase your overall compensation. Um, I am not a, uh, a tax or dependency law expert, but there is a rating, or there is additional compensation in the rating system for that. Whether you qualify specifically or not, I cannot say. I can't determine. Even with more information, that is not my um, area of expertise. So I would say, get with um, consult with someone at the VA and find out more about that process.
Yeah, George wrote here, PACT Act, Agent Orange Health. So going back to what Donnie said, right, PACT Act is not necessarily the claim you're going to be filing for. It all depends on what that condition is and if you have manifested what that diagnosis is. I would definitely recommend, if you have not checked out our blog post on the Agent Orange or PACT Act, to check it out. Our VACI website is a good resource just to get that information of kind of what those conditions are and what they entail. But if you are looking for more support as to how to file those claims and what that may look like, definitely recommend sign up for a discovery call. Maybe sign up, have that one-on-one strategy call with your coach to see, hey, have you been actively diagnosed with these conditions? Do they fall under the PACT Act? And if so, what do those steps look like? Okay.
Um, so Tony has a long one here. I got service connected in 2004 for UE. I started in 1999, but now I need some services that need me service connected for something they denied. But I was in voc rehab when I got my sick and had to drop out, and I never went back to school. Years later, I applied for school. They still denied me for rehab again. Now am I entitled to special monthly compensation monthly now? Um, I'm not sure what you mean by UE specifically, and um, overall, I can't determine uh, whether you qualify based on this information. Um, First of all, I can't make the determination whether you qualify or not, right? That's gonna come um, during from a rater during your process. Um, I could, educate you on the things surrounding that, but it's hard. I don't have enough. Are you talking about if you qualify for voc rehab? If you you may, if you haven't used all your entitlement, the qualification for voc rehab um, is that you have a compensable rating and have either an employability handicap or severe employability handicap, and then whether or not your occupational goals are feasible and obtainable, things like that. So that's a pretty long process to determine whether you're eligible or not. I would say, the best thing to do as far as voc rehab goes is go in and talk to a counselor, right? Um, Usually they're there to help you and help you get through that process. They're going to make you do some work, educate yourself, just like our elite program requires that you do some work, obtain that education. So get with a voc rehab counselor, go and talk to them and see what you may or may not qualify for, and um, what they might be able to do for you to help you get your life better. Um, that being said, sign up and get with a coach and see if you are getting the rating you deserve. A change in your rating also impacts the change in your status for voc rehab. If the severity of your conditions have increased, that changes your employability picture and is a better argument for needing assistance from the vocational and rehabilitation program. You can use that link right there to sign up for a discovery call, um, and or you can just sign up with a coach. Um, yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, and we're almost at the end here, so just wanted to kind of recap again about VACI and the elite program. Again, throwing that out there, the SEM method, right? Strategy, education, medical evidence. So we're here to help you strategize, educate you on that process. What are those steps and processes for those claims look like? What does a CNP look like? What to expect, right? And what's the importance of medical evidence? What's considered medical evidence, right? We'll talk about that as well. You'll have that one-on-one coaching where you'll have that initial strategy session. You'll have that support throughout the process, even through that submission, right? And also that CNP notice. So, hey, I got the CNP. What do I do now, right? We'll definitely support and educate you throughout that process as well as to kind of what to expect. As part of the elite program, not only are you going to have a plethora of information within our insider portal in terms of resources, but also you'll have access to our live classes via Zoom that we have 3 times a day every week. So in the morning, like I mentioned, that community aspect through coffee with the coaches. And then we also have classes to educate you on mental health claims, physical claims, and also an orientation elite member Q&A. So you have an understanding of kind of what does the elite program entail, answer any questions, and really expectation setting moving forward. Definitely, if you're interested, go ahead and either sign up directly to the program or sign up for a discovery call, have that one-on-one with one of our ambassadors and see if this is a good fit for you. And if you have not yet, definitely want to plug Brian's new book, You Deserve It. The second edition is now available. Definitely feel free to order yours today on Amazon. But you can also download it for free by going to youdeserveitfree.com. So there's a link. Definitely check it out. It's also a good resource.
And there's no way to emphasize how much less stressful it is when you have uh, an amazing, knowledgeable coach in your background assisting you um, with receiving the education you need to get the rating you deserve. It's changes the entire process, in my opinion. That being
Yeah,
said,
the VA process can be
quick.
intimidating, and having that coach to support you to kind of break things down, educate you on what to expect, what does that look like, and definitely lessen the anxiety that I know a lot of vets have when they talk about their VA disability.
Absolutely. Um, Naomi, thanks for being here with me today and sharing your education with all these great veterans. Some of which are already with our program, and hopefully the rest of them um, sign up to get the education that they need to get the rating they deserve morally, ethically, and legally. Uh, that being
Yeah.
said,
Thank you so much for coach teaching today. And thank you all for tuning in and asking amazing questions. Definitely sign up for a discovery call. That's the first step for finding out more.